Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Paladins Alliance. It is finally time for another major cycle. 2022 Antwerp is finally here. Challenger stage pick'ems. We got to get the diamond coin yet again. We got it in Stockholm. It was a little bit easier that time around, but this time we have all these new re-energized rosters. We have some great underdogs. We have some amazing stories coming from the RMRs, and so it's going to be quite a tough task to actually pick the right people to get that 5 dinged, but I think we can get it done, hopefully. And we'll start off with the 3-0. Actually, no, you know what? I'll go through the teams that I want to advance, and then I'll discuss the undefeated portion and the eliminated without winning at the very end. So I'll start off with Ents. I think they're absolutely one of the teams that will go through because, they have shown what it takes that they can beat every single top team. I'm talking top 5 level of teams. I mean, I think they kind of deserve the HLTV ranking that they have right now. They haven't necessarily gone up against G2, but they've beaten the likes of Heroic. They've been, I believe they beat the likes of FaZe as well. So they've done very well for themselves. They've had a couple deep playoff runs. They qualified for Lisbon recently, so even online they're doing it in style. I like the form that a lot of these players are reaching. Spinks is becoming a world-class player. He's hitting those peaks. Hades is doing very well for himself. Snappy is fragging and calling better than he ever has. I think there's nothing that you can go wrong with Ents as of right now. This is completely different from the Ents with the Dodo lineup where they had chances to break through, but they couldn't necessarily capitalize. This time they're peaking at the exact right time, and I think they are very comfortably going to make it through to the legend stage and actually make a fight to the playoffs there as well. So let's move on. I will put G2 to go through. I know some people are a little dicey on them, but look, I think one thing is for sure: this organization performs well at majors. At least the core of this roster has performed well at majors. The lineup that made it to the major final last time around didn't necessarily deserve to, but they showed up even after an abysmal showdown show up that they had right before that tournament. So I already know that this team can turn things around very quickly. You have one of the best players in the world in Nico. You cannot go wrong with that. Even if shit hits the fan, he can carry a team through many a game. He's done it so many times in his career, and he can do it again. So that isn't necessarily a bad point. You have Monacy, although it's his first major, we've clearly seen that he can hang with the big boys. He can play without pressure. He's a little bit of an Iceman in that sense. So I can definitely see the Flash perform very well here. And then again, you can't go wrong with Hunter. Hunter had a very, very good major as well. So a lot of stuff that you can't necessarily count on. They might get through sloppily, but they will get through no matter what. I think these 5 men on the G2 roster will definitely get the job done. So I will skip over Forza, I'll skip over Astralis, and I'll go to Vitality here. I think Vitality can make it through. Again, very similar reasoning to that of G2. They have tenured players, first of all, very, very experienced players. Dupree and Magisk have been around the block quite a few times, especially in this format of play. They've seen the very low lows of the Swiss system. They've seen the very high highs. I can think they can very much handle themselves in this scenario. Then beyond that, you again have a very, very, very good talent in Zaiwu. I mean, he hasn't shown his superstar levels of form. I've done quite a bit of content about discussing what Vitality's various issues are. But if Zaiwu shows up even 50, 75% level of his form, we will definitely have a very, very competitive Vitality at this major, and we can see them go deep again. But that is a big if. However, the amount of firepower that is on this team, the amount of skill that this team has, I don't think you can necessarily go wrong with them. Again, it could be sloppy, it could be messy, but I think that they are pretty much a lock to get through with the caliber of teams that are in this challengers list. I think they can get through just barely. Skip over MIBR, I'll skip over Imperial. I'll go to BNE here. I'll go talk about Bad News Eagles and why I actually want them to go through. So I personally think that they have this kind of raw energy about them that many other teams do not. I think this passion that they have is something that I can get behind. It's a little bit more of an intangible, but I really like what I saw from them. They were a team that, regardless of the opposition that they were playing against, they had a very key idea that they wanted to carry through with, and they stuck to it, and they stuck to it well. They performed very well at the RMR. I think although they had an easier time in terms of like the entire field, they beat some pretty respectable competition on land nonetheless. So I think that they have the capability of performing well. I liked what I saw from Juan Flachero. I like what I saw from GXX. And I think that they have a good enough core to get it done. They have a very, very solid base of firepower. And I think they can carry themselves through. Maybe they get through 3-2. I think G2 and Vitality, you can consider themselves 3-1. But I can see BNE getting through 3-2. There are some teams here that they can go toe-to-toe within the BO3s. I think it's very, very possible. So they're my little bit of a dark horse to get through to the Legend stage. And it's a little bit of a Hail Mary, but I think I will consider themselves to be Legends, just barely. The next team that I want to go through is Outsiders, and they were pretty lackluster in the RMR. They have a lot of issues internally, obviously. But the thing is that this team, this specific lineup, is one that I will simply not look past, regardless of form going into bigger tournaments. They always, always, always show up on the day when they need to. I've never necessarily found them in a position where they look down and out. You have very, very reliable stars in Jame and Yekindar. They have always been very consistently at the top of their game, and they still are. There's no reason why they can't be. And I think for that reason, I have to put Outsiders through. This is a team that could have, frankly, been considered as favorites for the entire thing. But obviously, with how they looked at the RMR, barely scraping through that best of 3 at the very end of things, is cause for concern. Don't get me wrong. I think it is. They're definitely not the Outsiders that, or Virtus Pro have you, or what have you, that we've come to know and love from, the deep runs that they have had. But at the end of the day, you can't go wrong with the core that this team has, with the amount of experience this team's had. They have been through everything together as a 5-man unit. There is no reason why they cannot overcome this seemingly weaker Legend stage, path to the Legend stage, in my opinion. Now, when we get to the Legend stage, that's going to be a little bit more hard to predict with how they've been looking. They still could be a dark horse there as well. So I'm not counting Outsiders out just yet. I know a lot of people are with the form that they were showing at the end of the RMR, but you cannot go wrong with Jame and Yekindar. That duo is unmatched. The absolute passive Jame and the absolute aggression of Yekindar added in with the addition of Flit, and he's been doing very well for himself with this roster. So I think Outsiders can get it done, and I think that they have what it takes. There's no reason why they can't. I think they are their own worst demons. So I will, in good faith, go with my NA boys of Complexity. The thing is that it has to be. This is a very risky pick. I will say that much. When it comes to Complexity, you can get two different types of teams. You can get one team where, they're NA's best, they're NA's brightest, and they show that they can beat anyone and anyone on a given day. Sorry, did I say anyone and anyone? I meant anyone and everyone on any given day because of the amount of just individuals that are on this team. The Fang and Floppy are absolutely nuts on this team when they are on. When they are hitting entries, Fang especially, when he is hitting his shots, there is no bomb site that these guys cannot crack through. It doesn't matter what map, it doesn't matter what situation. They show that they can go toe-to-toe with the best. And seeing them at ESL Challenger and seeing that night and day difference when their backs were against the wall, they showed some really, really good performances. But I've also, at the same time, I've also seen some very negative performances from them. I think that their vetoes can sometimes be very lackluster, picking into Ancient quite a few times. They've waned away from it a little bit recently, but I've seen that has been a major problem for them, where they have a certain identity that they want to go through with, and they keep trying to brute force it, and it hasn't necessarily worked out in their favor. So it is a problem to pick Complexity here, because you have certain teams that could just edge their way through. You have Forza, who could be that CIS underdog to make it through, but you also have players like MIBR who have been known to counter a team like Complexity. But I personally think that Complexity has the tools to get it done, especially with JT. Now there is a question of pressure, but then again, I want to run it back to the other teams that are here that have even more pressure on their shoulders. Again, Forza, all their players are their first major, except bar Jerry, of course. But those guys are very, very young. Those guys haven't necessarily been at the top of pro play in quite some time. You have MIBR as well, having to go against your legends of Imperial, and you have to play against legends of the game. I think that's a very, very tall task. They showed a lot of good promise to go 3-0 at the America stage, but I think this might be too tall of an order. I like Complexity's odds, especially if I had to compare between these teams across the board. So I'm going to go with this risky pick of Complexity. This is a little bit more of a dark horse. Complexity and BNE are the ones that I think are a little bit more risky, but I will go with them as those little bit of a dark horse pick to make it through to the legend stage. And then the last one that I wanted to pick through to make it is Liquid. I think that Liquid is still sound as a roster. I think OC is hitting a very peak form right now. OC has been showing some very, very good stuff. I enjoyed watching him play. Nitro is finding a little bit better form. He isn't showing the form of yore, but then again, even back then, he didn't have the most pristine form. He's kind of reinvented himself in that way. He isn't necessarily looking to do anything crazy. He's not entering like crazy, but he's more playing middle of the pack. He's making sure that he can take map control with his team. And I think Elige, Naf, and OC have found form once more to make it through. I know there was a hiccup at the showdown that might be cause for concern for some people, but again, I think there's I can make the same argument for Complexity as well. So I think that there is a lot to write against these North American teams, but on LAN, they have performed. They have shown that they can go toe-to-toe with the best. Again, I want to bring it back. Liquid beating their Demons and Heroic in the playoffs at EPL. That is nothing to scoff at. I think that is a very impressive win nonetheless, regardless of how easy of a bracket was for Heroic, regardless of their intangibles. A win is a win over Heroic in my eyes. So I think that both of these NA teams can get the job done. I think they can make it to the Legend stage. Beyond that, that's, of course, another question. We will have more content, more Legends predictions coming your way. But until then, I will back them up. I believe in them. I think that they can get the job done. And now these 3-0 team and the 0-3 team. So what do I think that I want to put in this? So we'll start with the 0-3 first. I think IHC will go 0-3. I had a very tough time talking about this. I don't think Imperial can lose to the likes of IHC or Renegades or 9Z for that matter. I don't think they can lose a best of 3 to them. So if it comes down to that 0-3 matchup, I don't think it's possible for them to get eliminated. I don't think MIBR could fall to them either. I don't think 9Z could either. That's the big one. I don't think 9Z can go 0-3. Personally, I think that regardless of the situation, no matter how much their backs are against the wall, I think this team can persevere. I think they are going to surprise at this major. I think they are guaranteed at least one win somewhere along this tournament. It might be a cheeky BO1, might be a cheeky BO3 to dodge elimination, but I think that they have what it takes to become a good team. They have very, very strong individuals. They have the passion that they have and the perseverance that this team has is something that I haven't seen in a lot of South American teams in quite some time, and I'm very happy to see that they're able to battle through the open qualifiers, battle through the RMR, and somehow, some way, against all odds, make it through as that very last team. And IHC, while they do have some very good individuals, I liked what I saw in some of the demo reviews that Launders did. I don't think that they're at the caliber of team to get that initial win. I believe they're going against Astralis in the first round, and that could get a little dicey. But I personally think that IHC can't get it done. I don't think the map pool would lend itself for them to do that. I think you'll be able to see the veto come through and be in favor of Astralis in this time around. There is no reason why they can't get it done, Astralis. And for that reason, I have to go with IHC 0-3. I love the Cinderella story. I was very happy to see a Mongolian team come through. They'll gather a lot of experience through Antwerp here, but I don't think that they have enough firepower. I don't think they have enough tactical depth. I don't think they have enough of a map pool to really overcome the teams that I have not picked here. I haven't even talked about Eternal Fire and Spirit. Those teams also have enough of a roster to get through some kind of BO1 victory over IHC personally. And so you're looking at the 3-0, and always when you're picking the 3-0, you have to pick the riskiest one, the thing that might not work in your favor, and it's going to come against a lot of what people might consider the correct decision, but I'm going to go with Astralis as a 3-0 to make it through. And this might seem a little bit odd with this roster, but Look, Farlig has been stepping up recently, and I thought that he did very well at the showdown. I think he's finding his footing a little bit more, his identity a little bit more. He kind of understands what he needs to get done, and he's a little bit hit or miss. He still hasn't completely integrated into the squad, but he's been getting better, and that is what I think is very important. And when they look on at this team as a complete package, when Config and Blame F are firing together alone, even without Farley, this team is very, very strong. We saw how dominant they were on Mirage a couple times throughout the showdown. And although it's online, and I know it feels a little bit lackluster to say, they still looked very, very strong. And I think that if the Bukos works in some way, that they could probably, I think they'll either go through 3-0 or there's a chance that they just don't make it through, right? And there's a lot of experience on this roster, having Glaive being through the major cycle as many times as he has. And yeah, it's very risky to say this, but I don't have complete faith in any of these teams to go to 3-0. That's how difficult I think this prediction is. And so as Hail Mary as it is, I'm going to pick Astralis to go through 3-0. It's very unlikely that it happens, but I think that if it does, it's going to be very big brain on my part that I was able to predict it. I think that they're peaking at a pretty considerably good time that it might just work out. So these are my pick'ems. And if you have any questions as to why I haven't picked some of these rosters, you can comment down below. I'll have a little bit of a conversation with you. I think that this is going to be a very, very exciting major. I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm excited to see all my buddies make it through all of the talent pool, performing very well for themselves and having an opportunity to broadcast at the biggest stage. It's going to be very, very great. The talent is good to go. The major teams are good to go, and I'm absolutely pumped. I cannot wait to keep doing some more pick'em content. Maybe demos on the horizon as well. We'll see how things go. And if you guys want to keep at it with my type of content, you can just follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/datpaladin. I'll be tweeting round the clock about this major cycle, all the major news, kerfuffles, and whatnot coming from it, because I know there's going to be some amount of drama. And I'm just thrilled to get this show on the road and have an absolutely blast of a summer. So let's get this show started, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.